All right, you guys, welcome yet again to another episode of the Online Prosperity Show. It is the number one place where you learn how to build a business that just doesn't make money, but actually means something. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga. And if you've ever maybe felt stuck between working hard and you probably think you're getting nowhere, or you've built something that actually just looks good on the outside, but feels empty on the inside. I'm going to tell you something. Today's episode is going to hit home because today we're going to be diving into consistency, identity, and building a personal brand that people cannot ignore. And trust me, if you've ever said, I know what to do, but I just don't do it, I think you'd want to stay till the end of this particular episode and just make sure you hit that subscribe button from wherever you're watching or listening, because this show is where we bring the real stories, the real strategies, and the real people that are doing extraordinary things. Now, I'm not mincing my words when I say the real people and the real strategies, because today's guest is not new to the show, which either means one or two things. Maybe he didn't get it right the first time, or he's actually doing something so powerful we had to bring him back. And guess what? I'm leaning towards the second one. Now, Geoff, my man, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Prosper. It's a pleasure to be back.
Absolutely. Well, the pleasure is all mine because you come bearing gifts. You've written a new book, my man.
Yes, yes, I have. Yep, the book I released it in June of last year. It's called Do It Every Damn Day.
Absolutely. And do it every damn day we shall. Now, for those that are meeting Geoff for the very first time, I'm going to link his old video with me prior, where we were talking about his coaching business. And obviously, Geoff is a coach and now author of Do It Every Damn Day. And he's somebody who literally left a stable career, moved cities, and built a global coaching business, if I remember correctly, Geoff.
That's right.
Absolutely. All because it was burnout that had forced him to ask a real deeper question: that is what I'm facing, or is what I'm receiving really what I want in life? Because most of us are just going through life without actually asking us that very same question, whether what we're actually receiving is what we want. So this is a man who just didn't build a business. He actually disappeared into Thailand and went to Japan. He was training Muay Thai, Kung Fu, and all the other dangerous karate words you could think of, kickboxing. And I mean, obviously, not once, but multiple times. And with these types of disciplines, there's a lot that goes into it. It's not just kicking and screaming and breaking planks, it's the actual discipline that goes into that. So, and the mindset. So we'll be learning a little bit about that and what actually got him to get into this. So yeah, I can't wait to jump into this and discover what Geoff has been up to and how he's now helping others do and have a happier existence. Now, Geoff, you should know by now. If you don't stop me, I could just go on and talk about things I'm not even qualified to talk about. First of all, I mean, obviously, congratulations on the book. Tell us what's been happening, since the last time we spoke.
Thanks, man. So I think we spoke about 3 years ago, perhaps 4 years ago. And in that time period, it would have been just before I left to go and train Kung Fu in Japan. So I actually lived in Japan for 3 months. I trained Kung Fu, I trained kickboxing, and I completely actually put my business on pause, which is very interesting because that pause for my business is what set me up for everything I'm doing today. Prior to going, I also started to feel burned out again for a couple of reasons. It was very different form of burnout to my corporate burnout. It was more burnout as in the business that I was running was pretty successful, but it wasn't very aligned to who I was becoming. I was becoming someone that, just for context, I used to be a life coach and I used to help millennials kind of figure out what they want to do with their life, create goals, create strategy. But for me, I've always loved business. I opened my first business at the age of 21 and I'm 30 now. Okay, and I've always loved business. I've always dreamed of like, helping people with their business. But for some reason, I first wanted to help people with life. But it came to a point where I didn't feel like I was enjoying it anymore. So taking 3 months off, I literally closed down the business. I didn't close it down, but I put it on pause. And I went to just train full time. We were training like 6 hours a day. And that sort of stuff just completely reset me because it gave me perspective on what I actually wanted to do next. And when I came back, I really attacked it with a new vigor. And now it's 2026, and I've been on a journey since then. So, for example, since that point in time where I went to Japan, I met the girl I want to marry. On top of that, as well, we've gone and trained Muay Thai full time in Thailand. I've gone and traveled through Vietnam. I've done a bunch of different travels in between as well, but much smaller ones. On top of that, I've released my book. And I've also pivoted my business entirely. So when we spoke last, I'm pretty sure I was a transformative life coach for millennials. Now I am a coach for entrepreneurs. So I'm a business coach, help entrepreneurs build their business, make it more profitable. So anyone who's under $10,000 per month, they come to me. And on top of that as well, I help them build their brand. So they have a very unique brand that stands out in the market based on their positioning. So that's where my business has pivoted since. And I'm very happy with it right now. I feel like I found what I'm good at. I feel like I found something that actually resonates with my skills, and I'm very much enjoying it.
Absolutely, and congratulations, because so many people hold on to something even though it's no longer fulfilling for them, and it actually really causes them to completely burn out. But you discovered that, wait a minute, this is something that might not be fitting at that particular time. Was there something that would have happened, or how did you feel that this wasn't for you?
It was more of like whenever I had sessions with my clients back when I had first started, it would feel like something exciting, you know the feeling you get when you onboard a new client. You're like, yes, I got to onboard this new client, and like there's a sense of excitement to begin working with them. I won't say that the excitement was completely gone because naturally I wanted to help my client, but I didn't feel that feeling of like yes anymore. It was just like routine. And on top of that as well, during the sessions, I felt heavy. Like I didn't feel like I was doing something that I particularly enjoyed anymore. Like yes, I was doing my very best to help them. I was never diminishing the quality, but personally on the inside, I wasn't feeling fulfilled. And I also began to feel like a little bit misaligned whenever I told people what I do. When you network or you meet people, you might tell them what it is you do. I didn't feel proud of saying what I did. I had a sense of hesitation at that point, and I knew that this particular trajectory I was on wasn't something that I could do for the rest of my life, even though it might have started off that way.
Now, there's something about life coaching that obviously you're dealing with people that are usually at the lowest half of the time, and you're trying to bring them to being their best, or they're actually really good at what they're doing, but there's an element of trying to make them feel good about themselves. Could it have been that some people just didn't want to try, and looking at what you went and did so many amazing things? Could that have been that disconnect of, wait, I've got so much potential inside of me. Why would I be dealing with people that don't even want to try?
No, not really. No, I definitely didn't think in that way because, like, even if people tried or they didn't try, I would still try my best to help them. But sometimes it can be a bit disheartening to see somebody make a lack of progress because they are stuck with their own thoughts and limiting beliefs, and they blame things outside of what they can control, anyways. So it can be very disheartening. But the real thing that really kind of just made me switch off is I noticed that a lot of the clients that I was getting, especially in 2024, 2023, were entrepreneurs. Like, interestingly enough, I was attracting a lot of entrepreneurs and founders for life coaching, and I have no idea why. But I really enjoy working with those guys because I was helping them grow their business. Even though I was a life coach, they were asking me about things like marketing, business strategy, talking to me about like basically building their offer. And these were things that I wasn't even putting up on my website I could do, but I had done because I'd already been a coach for a couple of years at that point. So that's when I realized, and I pivoted my business in 2024 at the very end because I realized that all the people who were coming to me were in that same category anyway, and like I wanted to work with them. So even though I say like I'm no longer a life coach, the thing about coaching, whether it be business, corporate, whatever it is that it always depends on the human mind. And if somebody is struggling in terms of confidence or clarity or something like that, then basically they need to be able to overcome these internal obstacles before they can make progress in their business or whatever it is. So the fundamental is always life coaching. But now we have the extra element of improving profit margins, improving income, all these kinds of things as well.
Mm. Now, most people would get into coaching based on the person they were, say, 3 years before or 5 years prior. And with what you're saying, do you think you were actually also growing in the process that you then started to disconnect with where you are? Because the reason why I'm asking this is so many people keep getting stuck because that's the thing that they think they should be doing, not actually paying attention to how they feel and how they are actually responding to the work that they're doing.
That's a really good point, actually, and I hadn't thought about that. That's a really good point. And I think you're right. I think in that process, I was growing a lot. Like, yes, I was static. I was like not traveling before I started the travels and things like that. But I think like the main thing that really kept me static is like also, yeah, you're right. I was growing because I was listening to so many different people's version of the world that I was in a way learning from the things that they had got through. Like prior to me pivoting my business, I had worked with 63 clients through my life coaching business from many countries around the world. And I helped them in many different capacities in terms of like achieving their goals, fixing their mindset, overcoming their fears. And I think I definitely learned a lot because when you see someone's point of view so intimately, you actually learn a lot about what makes someone tick and you reflect that inside of yourself and you're like, hey, hang on a second. Do I have these same obstacles? Am I struggling with the same thing? Because at the end of the day, humans are more similar than we like to believe. All humans have very similar sort of things they want that they want to overcome, but just different perspectives and different representations of how they want to do it.
Absolutely. And speaking of perspectives and seeing things in a different light, you went to various countries which are culturally and maybe even societally different to what you're sort of used to. What was it like when you were traveling, and was that also part of the self-discovery that you were also finding yourself? Because when you get to a space where people speak a whole different language, a whole different culture, you're by definition a rookie.
Yes, definitely. Like when you travel, you really learn so much, especially when you do it by yourself. I think this is the major thing. Like when you travel for a holiday or you travel with like friends or family, you still have the comfort of home. But I've done solo traveling for 6 months by myself, just across Asia with a tiny backpack. You know, I've gone to live by myself with people from around the world, in a very foreign country like Japan where I knew nothing. And it forces you to really, one, look inside of yourself because like you have to do everything by yourself. Like you can't speak the language. You don't know how to get food. You don't know how to cook. You don't know how to do all these different things because you don't have those facilities. So you have to figure out how to get around. And also on top of that, transport, how to meet people too, because otherwise you're going to be very lonely. When you solo travel, you have to meet people, you have to make friends and companions. So all of these things force you to really change the way that you think, especially when you meet people. Like I have made friends, so many friends in Japan, Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, just through my travels, and we're still connected today. But learning from them, I learned so much about how to improve myself. And I learned so much about how the world is actually a far more multivariate place than we realize. When we stay in our same place, we stay at home, we stay in our city, we know our version of the world, and it is a very safe, secure blanket, especially if we live in the first world. But in the third world, it's not. People are struggling out there, and we're confronted with things like poverty, we're confronted with things like culture, but we're also confronted with things that are like, for example, kindness. I've seen people in like these countries treat others with incredible kindness. I've seen like in Vietnam, for example, like the whole street, there's like children running around, 2 to 3 years old, unsupervised. They just go out and have fun because they're safe to do so. And it is a really, really interesting juxtaposition. And your mind is forced to adapt and realize like how that bubble you live in is not the world. That's just your representation of the world. When you come out of it, you realize, okay, like there's all of these things out there, but I have to go out and experience it, and I have to do it alone. That was my biggest thing. I had to do it alone. I didn't want to go with other people because if I brought someone from home, I would always be contrasting what I learned with someone from home, and that would dilute my growth.
Absolutely, I like that because if you're in there and you immerse yourself, that's the only way that you can learn. And if you're, looking at how other people are, dealing with life and things of that nature, so that means you would have actually gotten mentors while you were, on these journeys. Maybe you can talk a little bit about learning from other people because, as you say, some of us will just be focused on my postcode, what I know, and my lane, and not trying to venture into anything else different out there in the world.
Yeah, that's a great question. I can definitely think of like of two main people. no, three main people on these travels that really changed a fundamental element of me. The first one is a really good friend that I met in Japan. He taught me the value of generosity. Okay, this guy was generous beyond reason, and he never expected anything back from anybody. And being around him for those few months made me realize and understand the importance of being generous without expecting anything back in return. Life is not always about plus one and take one. It's about giving and giving because you want to. And I think that changed a lot about me because before that, perhaps I wasn't as generous. Number two, my coach. So my coach for Kung Fu and kickboxing, we get along really well. Him and I still talk all the time. And he taught me a lot about basically becoming someone more humble. When I went there, I was very arrogant. Because before that time, I was training a lot, so I was very strong. I was a very fit runner. I was basically like superhuman compared to what I'm right now. I'm still quite fit and strong, but like I'm nowhere near what I used to be when I went to Japan. But he taught me the value of being humble. Yes, you may be the fastest. Yes, you might be the strongest. Yes, you might love to fight or whatever it is, but you need to bring yourself down a peg to treat other people with humility. I learned that from him. And the third person as well is the master that taught me Muay Thai in Thailand, right? So when I went to train Muay Thai, it was actually my very first lesson, but I thought it'd be funny to pretend like I was a beginner. So I went there and I pretended like I didn't know what to do. And we were doing sparring, and he beat the heck out of me. He smashed my nose open, on the first day. And I was thinking to myself, why would he do that? Like, I mean, like, because the thing is, when we were doing sparring, he was giving me instruction like a beginner, but I wasn't listening. I was doing stuff because I already had skill. So he busted my face open, bled all over the mat. And he taught me the value of basically being transparent and also being humble as well. It's funny, I could say a lot of things that I learned throughout the journey, but the main thing is that I've come out of it as a more humble person. And I've realized that humility is what makes a person relatable and what makes a person able to learn from other people as well. If you want to grow, we can look at learning all these things through books and media and video. But I really think the most important thing we need to do to grow is to be humble because when we're humble, we can learn so much quicker and we're able to actually take ourselves forward.
So many people, I find that usually in the West, where people think they already know something, you tell somebody and they're like, "Oh, I already knew that." But if you already knew that, you then would have acted or done a whole lot different, And I don't know if you can see behind me, I've got a tremendous amount of books, which are books that I haven't read, most of them. And every time I walk in here, it just humbles me to know that there's something that I don't quite know. Because if I knew what I knew, I'll be probably doing better. So I think that's a very valid lesson that so many people never get to learn. And having cracked open your nose, I think that was even a physical lesson in the process there. So a lot of people want to sort of start, but they don't. And I think that's the reason why, because they fixate on, oh, maybe I'm not good enough or things of that nature. How did you do it differently, and what actually made you take action? Because you pivoted and you now have a whole different way of doing things.
The thing that makes me take action on a fundamental level is that I don't like to sit still when I can see problems occurring in the future. So for
Mm.
me, I always think in terms, I don't know what it is, but I always have two eyes, right? In terms of one eye is on the present and what I need to do, the other eye is always on the future because I'm always trying to extrapolate for obstacles that I can see happening on the horizon. It's just an innate ability that I have. And whenever I can see an obstacle occurring on the horizon, I go into overdrive in terms of what I can do to alleviate that problem before it occurs. And for me, in terms of pivoting or even creating a book or traveling or whatever it is, if I can see that something is necessary for what needs to happen next, I will do it. It doesn't matter. There's no resistance. There's no procrastination. It's just, okay, this needs to be fundamentally done because otherwise I'm only going to hold myself back. So and that's more of a mindset thing. If I was to suggest it to other people, what I would recommend is try as much as you can to keep your mind's eye as far in the future while keeping your mind also in the present and see if these two things align. If there is a contrast or a juxtaposition, then you need to take action. And if you just sit there and wait for things to happen for you, nothing will happen for you. Because in this whole world, in this whole universe, luck does exist, But luck is only for those who are brave and actually do stuff. If you do nothing, luck cannot find you because ultimately you haven't changed your position. And I've seen a lot of people complain, be upset, blame the world around them, even blame God. There's no one we can blame but ourselves. Every single thing that happens to us in our lives is our fault to some degree because we made a choice or we made a decision. But when we actually believe this, it's a lot easier to take this burden off our shoulders because if it's our fault, even if something external may happen we can't control, ultimately the decision we made to be in that position or whatever it is what caused it. And it takes away all of this emotional burden and say, okay, like if it's our fault, then we can also do something about it and we can move forward.
Oh, absolutely. I like that. And half of the time, once you've figured out what that thing is, you got to be consistently doing it because you can't just do it once and think you get the results. And I feel like that's just entitlement, right?
It is, yeah, it's definitely Western entitlement. We've been told that we can have instant gratification, which is nonsense. Like the whole world fundamentally through history has always been about step by step, brick by brick. And to believe that we can achieve something great by putting in minimal effort is disastrous. Like that's what social media would like us to believe. It's not true. All throughout life, there is a process of mastery. If you want to learn how to walk, you spend many years learning how to walk as a child. If you want to learn how to read, it takes years. Learn how to write, it takes years, right? So how can we believe that if we put in a little bit of effort towards our business, we're going to achieve success? That's almost like ridiculous in my mind. It's almost circumventing the need for work through just a belief that has no ground.
Mm. So your book basically talks about you don't need any motivation, you just need consistency and do it every damn day. What are we doing every damn day?
What you're doing every damn day is a process which helps you actually understand that consistency is not just the idea of saying, I'm going to do the same thing every day and I'm just going to stay consistent because I want to, because that's a fallacy, because our mind will always make us believe that we're on the wrong track because repetition is sucks, repetition is boring, and repetition makes us want to give up, especially if we don't see immediate results, which is why we need to have a fundamental layer beneath the repetition to keep us accountable to our actions. So the book is very different. It's not a generic self-help book. It's not a book that essentially is just about, oh, okay, this chapter is going to teach you this. Like I deliberately did not want to write a book like that because I myself would find that boring. So the book is very different. The book has 8 chapters. Each chapter is a journey on how you go from having nothing in your life to being the most consistent human being alive. It is the same process that I used to go from I used to be a drug addict and I used to be an alcoholic, and I got sober at the age of 25. Spent most of my life before that. Yes, I was working. Yes, I was doing things, but I was fundamentally a drug addict. Needed drugs to exist and keep me going every single day. And to change my life around, I had to learn this whole process. Each book has a chapter which looks at a person in history. So, for example, the first chapter uses David Goggins. The second chapter uses Miyamoto Musashi, right? Each of these chapters has a legend from history or maybe present day times that can show you how this particular attribute can be imbued as you go through the journey. So the first chapter is understanding about what it means to become a consistent man. The second is understanding the balance of life, understanding yin and yang, and how we can actually pull ourselves together. The third is about understanding outcomes. So as you go through the book, you will basically understand how people from history have achieved all this greatness and how you yourself can learn from their lessons and break down each of the individual steps that had to happen along the way.
I like that. Now, I don't know if you know or you've ever heard of this. A lot of people major in minor things, or they are very competent and do great in things that need not be done anyway. So there's one thing about being consistent, but also being consistent at doing the wrong things. What's one thing that people think they should be doing every day that they actually shouldn't?
That's a good question. I think it's really hard to say as a general because there's too many people for me to give you a classification. But what I can say is that if you're doing something every single day that isn't aligned to what you actually want, but you're doing it because you feel like society is telling you to do it or someone else is telling you to do it, you should probably stop. It needs to be aligned to what it is you want. And I don't mean that everything you do in life needs to have an intention. Like, for example, going to hang out with a friend does not require an intention. Spending time with your partner does not require an intention. But if it has to do with your business or your career or the things you want, it needs to have an intention. You need to know why you're doing something. Otherwise, there's no point in doing it. If you have to, even micro things, for example, if you're doing your daily admin for your business, what are you doing in your admin to make sure that you're not wasting time but being very effective? If you are setting up your client call, you have to pre-project in advance, like what are we going to cover? If you're doing your marketing and you're creating content, which is the best example, to be honest, is if you want your content to hit, who are you targeting? Why are you targeting them? How you want them to respond? You have to think of all these things. And the only way to be consistent is to understand why you're doing it, how you want the outcome to look, what it is you're doing, okay? Who do you want your outcome to affect? And most of all, why is it important to you? And if you can understand all of these things with great intention, then yes, you're doing the right thing. If you cannot tick all those boxes, then you should stop, in my opinion.
Absolutely. What I heard there, there's got to be a who, what, where, why sort of checklist that you've got to do there. And from that, I believe you've built a personal brand that's very recognizable. I mean, it's one of those things that I really commend you for what you've done. But what is it that you've done that most people are actually afraid to do
Hmm. In my business or in my life?
in your personal brand, like the whole combination?
Right. So I think the thing that I've done that a lot of people are scared to do is putting out stories about myself that are very uncomfortable for me to share. And that's a fundamental element of building a personal brand. If you want to build a personal brand, it's not just about putting out educational content. It's not even putting out about like content about what, like, for example, surface level, like, oh, you can do this, you can do that. You have to share stories about yourself that suck and hurt, and you don't actually want people to know. And the reason I say that is because the more that you share stories about yourself on this, you realize one, you diminish the importance of that event to yourself because ultimately, let's say something really bad happened to you in the past, we shouldn't use it as an anchor. It shouldn't be our defining moment. Instead, it can be our hero moment. This is our turning point, okay? So we can take that story and we can share it with other people and we can package it. And that's what makes our personal brand relatable, likable, and most of all, impactful.
You know what I like about that? I think it was Mike Tyson that said everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. That's exactly what I thought about when you said your teacher in Thailand punched you in the mouth and I mean and then cracked open your nose. And that's a story that very few people are willing to admit because everybody wants to show up and look like they are the Conor McGregor of whatever it is that they are doing. Now, what did Muay Thai and Kung Fu actually teach you about business that you couldn't learn from books or mentors?
Ooh, that is a great question. I would say that Muay Thai and Kung Fu, the most important thing it taught me is to let go of the outcome. I've never thought about that question before, but the words come true to my mind very easily when you ask me now. Let go of the outcome because, a lot of people train Muay Thai and Kung Fu and kickboxing, and I want to say that there's nothing wrong with this, but I know a lot of them do it for the drill, okay? So like you might go on the bags, you might do pads, but you may not be willing to get into combat. But the thing about especially Muay Thai, if you train Muay Thai in Thailand, I'll tell you right now to whoever's listening, you're not going to get away from this. You have to spar every single time you show up. If you don't spar, you don't come to class. And the thing about sparring is that you are forced to overcome your fears. So I'll come back to the let go of the outcome. You're forced to let go of your fears. No matter how skilled you are, I'll tell you this, there's always a Thai person waiting for you who is better than you, and he's gonna beat the shit out of you. Okay? And that's where you have to understand that no matter what happens, you can't be going into your life or your business believing that like everything is going to work out. As you said before, everyone has a plan till they get punched in the mouth. And for me, when I was in Thailand, yes, I trained and sparred with many Thai people, many foreign people from other countries as well. I did it in Singapore, I did it in Japan. And everyone has a plan of being big and strong until you go there and you get absolutely humbled by a Thai person who does not care who you are. And they're just going to show you what's up because they're a pro who's done like 100 fights. And they're like, it doesn't matter who you are, I'm going to beat you up. And that's when I realized at that point in time that I need to go into this being willing to be beat up. It doesn't matter if I'm going to go in and I'm going to win or whatever, because most likely I'm going to have my ass handed to me because this guy's had 100 fights. And that applies very well to life and business. It doesn't matter how much you go into it, you can only do your best. You can only do your best. And if you do your best, that's good enough. And to me, I remember I was like, at the time, I was like calling my girlfriend. I was telling her, I was like, oh, babe, I just had the shit beaten out. Because I had the shit beaten out of me by this guy. Like, it just knocked, you know what I mean? Like, crazy. Like, I would just tell her these things. But it applies very well to life and business. Try your best. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, you try again, you try again, you try again. As long as you keep showing up, you're already winning.
Oh, I like that. And just that honesty with yourself, because now you know you've got a reference point, you know what I mean? And from what you're saying, it's the travel, the martial arts completely removes the noise, because when you're in your own space, you start becoming complacent, and it actually gives you a lot more clarity than anything else. And I think I think a lot of people just believe maybe motivation will show up, but you got to go out there and look for it, right? And then once you find it, be consistent in the way that you do it, and then that's when the action actually becomes sound. And just based on the work, it's actually that's what I'm sort of seeing in that you've got to go out there and find it, not necessarily wait for it to come to you.
I think that's a great way to put it. You have to go out there and find life. And that doesn't mean, like you don't, for example, if whoever's listening to this, you don't have to follow the same things I did. Yes, you can travel. Yes, you can train Muay Thai and you can train kickboxing if you want. But I will say that you can do things in your daily life that will change the way that life comes to you or you go to life. Instead of doing the same thing every day, change your schedule around. Go to a different place, eat at a different place, make new friends, go here, go there. Do things that are different and don't get caught in the same routine every single day because the more that you do that, one, you really begin to dislike your life because at the same time, fundamentally, you're not living your life. You're keeping it the same and sterile because this is a good way of having control. But two, if you try to do different things to grow, even in your environment of a city or a town or whatever it is, you are still going to develop because you are learning new things. You're having new experiences. You are talking to new people. The word new is very important because when you bring new energy into yourself, you feel renewed, right? That's the fundamental nature of life. If you're just on repeat every single day, you are a slave to yourself. And being a slave to yourself does not feel very good. But when you actually go out and find new things because you can do new things to make you like learn more, become more, have different conversations, all of a sudden you will begin to enhance yourself. You become sharper. You won't be dull.
Absolutely. So if somebody's watching this right now and they sort of finding what you're saying very, very, or it's resonating with who they're becoming, what is it that they can expect when they start working with you?
If you decide to start working with me and you're listening to this right now, what I can tell you is that we are going to help you do one or two things. If you're a new entrepreneur, you're not sure how to build a business, you and I are going to build it from scratch. We're going to go through 16 weeks together, or 32, depending on how you want to run the program. But you and I will go all the way from you having nothing but an idea, literally nothing but an idea, to having a business that runs and has clients or sells products at the end of the day. I can promise you this, across this whole time, you will have something if you work and follow what I say and we work together and make sure you take action, you will have that. And you can be assured that you will have that. Number two, if you are an existing entrepreneur and you are struggling to get yourself above five to $10,000 per month, you can be assured that through this process, I can't guarantee that you will have more than that. But what I can guarantee is that you will learn how to fundamentally build up your base so that you can start growing beyond that because your business itself may be in the wrong trajectory. For example, if you're helping a target market that nobody wants or nobody needs, it's very hard to say, okay, you're going to be over 5 to 10K. Maybe we have to pivot your business. Maybe we have to adjust your marketing. Maybe we have to change the way your content and brand shows up. Or even maybe we have to change the fundamental aspect of your niche. And we're going to go through all of these things together and figure out what the pain points are for you, what your obstacles are, and perhaps what you're doing with your foundations that are shaky. Rebuild, and then you will see growth very quickly. So this is the way I can help you if you would like to work with me, depending on which category you fall into.
Oh, absolutely. And there's not going to be any crack opening people's noses involved, right? I'm asking for the crowd here.
No cracking open noses, just egos.
Great. So, and where can people go to on the internet, Jeff, to get started on this?
Yeah, you can find me very easily. Simply type my name into Google. You can see everything I do, or go to geoffseow.com. Connect with me on Instagram, LinkedIn, LinkedIn primarily. The name is Geoff Seow. You can grab a copy of my book. I have a lot of free things you can get to. I have a vault of free resources. Grab yourself my financial tracker for your business. Grab yourself my book, which will help you design if you realize if your life is designed and aligned to the right things. Check out my actual book, do it every damn day, do my course. Or most importantly, just have a chat to me. Like I'm willing to have a chat anytime if you want to speak about things. Simply connect with me or follow me. And yeah, I'm always open.
Absolutely. I'll make sure that all those links are in the show notes so that people can go in and have a look at that. And your book is available on Amazon, is it?
That's right.
Absolutely. Now, from what I'm seeing and hearing from who you've become, it just sounds like personal brands, they're not just built by doing more. It's not about posting all that content that people are doing or dancing on reels or anything like that in the guise of creating a personal brand. It's actually being clear about who you are, what it is that you do, why you, why now, and most of all, why should anybody care? And I think you've really summed it all up in what you have become yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Prosper. It's been a journey, and this is the incredible thing about coming back here and talking to you after 3 years. I actually remember having a very impactful conversation during the podcast and after the podcast with you last time around as well. And to come back after 3 years, one makes me feel old, to be honest, because I don't know how 3 years went by this fast. But I don't know where did time go. But two, I've also realized through talking to you about all this is because one, I have to say, whoever's listening, this guy is an excellent interviewer. He asks the real questions and he thinks beyond just the surface. He's asking me things that are making me think. Like, I'm sitting here talking like very direct and deliberately, but I have to think a lot when he's asking me these questions. And I have to say that through this process, I myself have realized what I've done over the last 3 years. And actually, I hadn't seen like this before either. So you've done a great job, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, at the end of the day, when we are doing these things, we're here to leave, to learn, and to contribute, and obviously half of the time. And what I was actually thinking is what you give people this 16 weeks of, it's 16, right? That you work with somebody and you really take them through. It's akin to a rite of passage. And I think you also had to go through this rite of passage. Yes, you started off, anybody can start a business, but you then went on a journey of self-discovery and also removing that which was not you in the process. And now you can bring it back, and in 16 weeks you can literally hand people back to themselves. And I think that's a magnificent gift that you're giving to the people you're going to be working with.
Thank you. And yeah, that is very, very accurate. It is a rite of passage because in that process, we aren't just looking at fundamental things in terms of your business. We are also looking at things in terms of your life. Like I have clients when we come together, we might work for 4 weeks in a business, and after the fourth or fifth week, they just have a breakdown and they say, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if it's possible. Do I have the skill? Do I have the confidence? And through this process, they have to also overcome so many things within themselves. Because if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, first of all, you have to define your understanding of successful. What is successful to you? But number two as well, you also need to be ready to do the work on the inside. Are you the person capable of running whatever you define as a successful business? And if you're not, why? How can we close that gap?
I like that. Well, I can't wait to see what you're going to be doing with this next phase of your life, because when we last spoke the last time, there was a question that I asked you, what's next? And obviously, you've come packing a punch and everything else that comes along with it. But dare I ask again, Geoff, what's next? What's the next 2, 3 years going to look like in your world?
The next 2, 3 years are going to look in terms of I want to build something in my life. Okay, like I have spent a lot of time going around experiencing things and I spent a lot of time building my business. I want to build my life and I want to be able to take what I have and firstly impact more people. I want to be able to look at what I have carefully and continue to grow, whether that may be in terms of more books, courses, apps, more public speaking. I want to put myself out there more than ever before. I have no fear of being in the public eye. I thrive on it and I want to keep doing that. Number two, I want to really build my personal life as well. And I'm not going to go to it exactly on this podcast, but I want to build that out. I want to build it in a way that actually is strong, good foundations, and just keep making sure that's nice and good. Because I think when we have things that are good at home, everything else is okay. If your home life is rocky, your business is rocky. If your home life is rocky, your mind is rocky. Everything needs to be clear cut, strong, steady, and from a steady foundation, we grow. So for me, this is a new phase of my life where I'm trying to define the things that are very important to me and focusing on them entirely. The last time I talked to you, I don't remember what I said, to be honest, but I think I would have been just about the business, about doing this very individual type goals. Now, I think it's not just about the individual, it's about the collective. And this is a new phase of life for me, my friend.
Absolutely. You know what I like about that? It's like a table. And if a table has one wobbly leg, the whole thing tilts, you know what I mean? So in life, we've got all these facets, and if you haven't made sure, like you say, the foundations are set, it's all going to be unstable. Now, Geoff, I can't thank you enough for the time that you spend on the call with me today. And yeah, I can't wait to have you back again. And we might as well make this a regular occurrence, maybe every 2 to 3 years, we just check in to see what's happening.
That sounds good, Prosper. And I want to say thank you for having me back again. It's been incredible being here. I've really enjoyed this time speaking with you. Like I mentioned before, you have the knack of a great interviewer, and I can't wait to see what happens for you in the next 2 to 3 years. I hope your business and your brand and your podcast they grow because I honestly think you deserve it. You're doing a really good job over here.
Absolutely. It's clarity, man. Once you're clear on what it is that you want and what you're doing, everything else just, starts taking shape. So thank you so much for acknowledging that and for gracing us with your presence, not only once, but twice. And obviously, we've put you in the roster of, the slow news days. We're just going to be bringing in people we've had on the show, and definitely can't wait to see what else you've been doing. Now, for those that are watching, thank you so much for taking this time and watching up until this end of the episode. And if there's one thing for you to take away from today, is it's not that you lack discipline. That's not what's happening with a lot of us here. It's that you might not have built the identity that actually makes consistency a thing of your daily existence. So just do that damn thing every single day, like what Geoff says. And yeah, as you notice, Geoff didn't just build a business, he actually went on and rebuilt himself. And that's the part that a lot of people skip. They don't want that bloody nose, but that bloody nose is what you need to have out there so that one day you'll have a good story to tell on the Online Prosperity Show. And don't avoid that bloody nose. Okay. So if this episode made you think or even challenged you, to show up or start being or doing, share this with somebody who keeps saying, "Oh, I'll get this started next year," or "I'll start on Monday," because this might just be the motivation or the moment they actually need. And for those that are watching, I will definitely put all those links in the show notes so that you can connect with Geoff. I can't wait to see what you'll do with this information. Until next time, bye for now.